listening to Enlivening Musings, a podcast to enhance your life so you live fully alive. Sponsored by the Pleasure Fairy app. Download it for more support. Welcome to Enlivening Musings. I'm Crystal.
And I'm Katie.
And today we are talking about our solo practice and how that has a ripple effect into the real world. Bing, 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 bing. Magic. So I feel like we are always talking about the power of solo practice because it's foundational.
Yes.
And it always goes back to that. Like you've got this going on, you've got that going on. Solo practice. You want this to be better in your relationship or in your friendships or your family life or your whatever. Solo practice. It's like anything, right back to that. Because it's how we actually affect the rest of the world. If we have our own open heart, if we have our own groundedness, we have our limbic resonance, it is what impacts everything around us. And so it has the ripple effect out and about. And it can also touch into things like the law of attraction, which is totally overplayed and misunderstood.
Right.
So we're not going to necessarily go down that route, but it ties into those kinds of laws and physics and things like that that exist, that just are and happen. And it's once you're playing with stuff and realize how it works that it's like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I think life gets so fun because it's real. But it's like you said, it's been overplayed and stuff. So it's just like, oh, just manifest this and it'll happen. But it's not. Because you have to really change your own frequency.
Right, exactly. It's getting to the frequency. It's getting to the emotional body. It's getting...
Right, because, it goes deep, right? Because we're all just like vibration. When they go and look down to the little atoms and electrons, they're never touching. It's always just a vibration with our bodies and everything. Single structure you see, it's just an illusion of being solid. So that's interesting, and how that taps just like out into the field and how that works with just like energy work and intention. And Crystal, the reason we were talking about this is Crystal and I both had experiences where we were just doing some solo practices and how it like resonated out into the field and affected our partners and drew them into that part of us.
Right. And it's
without us having to say anything, to the point both of us were just like, what? Oh, okay. I got some magic happening here. Like, it was just really cool.
Right. So a couple of those things is like your partner can pick up on like your energy too.
Yeah.
So it's like even without it necessarily reaching the entire field of consciousness, just heart to heart and like in relation, they pick up on stuff. So like if you're sitting over there resenting them and like feeling like so horrible, and you don't even have to say anything, they can pick up on it. Now, they may not consciously be picking up on it, but they may be consciously picking up on it, because I've had both of those things happen, where it's like, hey, this is the feeling I'm getting. It's like, oh yeah, no, can't lie about that. So there's that. But yeah, I think it's really, really neat. And then the field of consciousness is where like it all exists, and we all have access to that all the time and could feel all of that as well. And that gets really big and existential. But leading it back into just like your personal practice and your personal vibration, it's really neat, especially in connection with your partner. My story, one of them, and this has happened multiple different times for me, but I love, like, in my Radically Love You stuff, I talk a lot about being your very own best lover. And so I practice that because I teach what I'm embodied in, yeah? So I was spending so much time just being that with myself while my partner was in another state. and I was touching my body in very specific ways that I would want my lover to touch me. And when he came back in town, he did exactly what I had been doing for like a week or something like that. It wasn't even that long, which is also the magic and power of it, is it doesn't always have to be like, oh, you've got to do this for forever before you have any sort of results.
6 to 8 weeks. No.
Right. Here's your prescription. So, it's just like, especially when you have that foundation, when you have that foundational stuff, this can have that type of an effect pretty quickly depending on what's going on in your world in general. But that solo practice can impact things like that. And so, I mean, can you just imagine that, like touching yourself in certain ways and then your partner comes home and does the exact same thing? Like, I'm not a stranger to this stuff. And I was just like, as it's happening, I'm sitting there like, what? Oh my goodness. What?
Right.
I can't believe this.
It is. It's like the power of intention, and it's the power in ourselves, which, so, I mean, again, this can get really deep, but, for a lot of us, it's scary to know how powerful we are. And, like you said, even just simple ways, coming back to like, as I always tell women I work with, most people I work with are women, it's like, I know it's hard, but we set the intention of the relationship. I know it's hard to be the one that's vulnerable first. I know it's hard to be the one to do this work first, and you're tired and you do so many other hats right now in life, but I'm sorry, but we are women and this is our job right now on earth. Like, we're women. We this is our gift. And right now it's unfortunately can feel like a burden because things are a little bit crazy in like the realm of work and time and like the society we live in, where
things aren't harmonized enough for it to feel good to be the one who sets the tone.
Right. Like back when we could just be the householder, and and just the importance of that, because we just set the tone for the if you're in a hetero relationship, for the men to come into. When I'm in a bad mood and all like uptight and rigid and like moving all fast and like spazzing out, that's not sexy, at all, right? You ask any man. But if I were to be just like, and I don't even have to be happy, but just like a little more peaceful, move a little bit slower, which again, one of the foundational practices that I share with people too, if you can do one thing, just slow down. And it is such a key thing when I feel myself spinning out of, like, I picture myself like spinning up in the air like Tinkerbell when I get crazy. And like, if I can just like slow down a little bit when I'm doing anything, and my energy changes in my heart, everyone in the whole house changes. The kids behave better. My husband is more receptive. Otherwise, they're scared to come around me.
Yeah, your limbic resonance is not feeling good.
Yeah, and try having animals around the house, and they really pick up on it. I can look over at my little dog and see the way he's cowering the corner. I'm like, oh, yep, mom needs to chill. So yeah, it's fun when you, like we said in our other podcast, when you get to the other side of it. And I am not perfect. I still have the moments where I'm the crazed mom, but I can much more often now see it. So the awareness that we talked about, and also laugh about it, and pattern interrupt out of it and be like, well, what am I doing? Like, sorry. Or after the fact, go apologize in a way, or have a conversation, be like, hey, it wasn't you. I'm sorry. I was mad because I was trying to do this other task that was really irritating to me. And then you walked in the room and you just got it. And like, it's just creates so much more space for like, and then the vulnerability. And again, being an example for the entire family of how they can all be and show up. And messy.
All of it.
All of it.
Tune into all of our episodes because Katie just touched upon so many.
Pretty much everything we talk about.
It's great. It's great. I love it. And share it with your friends because they need to know all of this stuff too, so that they can be happy just being themselves and living as is. And yes. Yeah, I love it. And I love how in some of the experiences that you've had, I want to just come back to this. So I'm just going to cut myself off. Coming back to like your own foundation, like when you're doing some of your own self work, again, like the solo practices, you're building this robust foundation. So, like when Katie's saying, like, well, now I can recognize it, or I could apologize, or I could be like, oh, shoot, I was projecting there, and like whatever it is. And same for me, that all applies to me too. Um, then when you do the solo practice or you do this thing, it can be so quick. Because that's one of the things that I feel like happened for you was like,
Mm-hmm.
you had one day of doing solo practices and your entire world changed,
Yeah.
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 Which isn't necessarily what's going to happen if you don't have that foundation.
Right.
But when you do, it's like coming home. You're coming home to yourself. It's activated right away, and it's powerful
Yeah.
and has just such a huge impact on the real world. And it makes me think about doing other things too, like when I've like alchemized other stuff for we had so much overhead at one point, and I was just like in it and thinking about just all this extra overhead. And I did an alchemy practice, and within 24 hours, I got a message that my entire building was going to change. I mean, 24 hours,
Yeah.
one practice.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, I think, obviously I'm a pelvic floor therapist. Crystal does psychosexual work, but I just always want people to know it's not like all about sex and sexy time and bedroom stuff. Like, this work changes your entire life.
Right. Yeah.
And, I've just been fortunate to have like done the work long enough that we get to get into the fun stuff a little bit now. But it's taken years actually of like getting through a lot of like the heart work and all that stuff. But yeah, it's created so much prosperity in like all aspects of life because you just can show up.
Right.
And then, like you said, I feel like the magic I have is just like way stronger and way more potent. The fact that things can change that quick, just like you said.
Yeah.
The more I've done it, it's because you're no longer afraid of your power anymore and you can hold it.
Right. And you're surrendering a bit more to like the field of consciousness, the
Yeah.
flow of life,
Yes.
the God power, the whatever it is,
Yeah.
I
I love that. If you can see the smile on my face right now, I'm like, oh yeah.
Everything just lit up.
It's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. All right.
So
I love
good.
everything. I notice
know.
how much I say it, and I know there's been times in my life where people are like, you just say it all the time. Like, do you mean it? I'm like, I do mean
Yeah,
it.
she does.
I mean it
can
every
vouch for
single
that.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's so fun and powerful. That was
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
I hope everyone gets a chance to feel that at least once in their life.
Yeah. So we'll sprinkle the fairy magic dust to you of being able to amplify everything in your life in a delicious way. That doesn't have to just be a sexy way. Whatever area wants some juice. And and it's your invitation to start a solo practice. It could just simply be something like shaking every day just to get started. And then see how it impacts everything around you. All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like more support, hop on the Pleasure Fairy app or find Katie at wellnesswithkatie.com. You can also find us on Instagram at Enlivening Musings if you want to share some takeaways or other requests for future shows. Enjoy.